Welcome to Narrowboat, the James built. Hope you're well, thanks for joining me. The reason I've brought Cerium up to the Tring Summit is that I need this boat to be on a very stable pound. Some of the pounds around here kind of fluctuate in terms of water levels, and I can't afford for that to happen because I've got to make my worktops here for the galley. But before I do that, I need to shore up some of these bits. I need to put in quite a lot of back supports here and make the whole thing much more rigid. And again on that side there, so I'll do that first. Right, all of these have been braced up and glued and screwed. They're kind of quite a lot more sturdy than they were. I've used quite a lot of offcuts because this is all going to be hidden. But yes, it's all kind of pretty decent now. It gives something for the worktop to clamp to. It makes sure everything's level, so nothing's going to be resting on kind of vulnerable bits. So it's not going to be resting on that, for example. It'll be on these bits here. So that's what it's looking like at the moment. Now I need to start to fit the worktop. Which I've been deliberating about for quite some time, but let's get something up there in the meantime. Right, these have all been shored up, these are decent now, and most importantly there's somewhere for the worktops to sit on top of all this instead of it being kind of on some of these vulnerable bits. So I'm happy with that. That all feels a bit more proper. Now I've got to come on to the worktops. What I'm going to want is a overhang on both sides of about 3 centimeters. So it's about what I've cut on that one there, just as a kind of a gauge. And that will give me enough room to put some LED strip lights kind of underneath shining down and recess them in using the router. In terms of worktop material, I'm going to use ply. And I'll come on to what my plan is with it. But basically, on Slow Patrol, I've got that 4 centimeter laminate stuff, which is really stood the test of time really well. All the edges were glued and sealed, so yeah, it's worked really well. But on something like this, it means I'm going to have that kind of iron-on laminate edge and cut it. And cutting chipboard isn't particularly fun. Certainly, kind of this amount of it. And it has to be done quite well, and I'm kind of a bit, you know. So I'm not going to use that stuff. Ideally, I'd like it to be made out of stone. I'd like it to be granite or marble or quartz or something, and that's obviously just ridiculous. So I'm not going to do that. I can't afford it and I can't machine it. So, but I'd like that look, and that's what I'm going to attempt to do on ply. So in America at the moment, it's like mega popular, people using epoxy resin and using various kind of techniques to make it look like stone, and over here obviously we catch on a few years after them, and there's a few companies doing it over here. There's one I've seen called Glass Cast, so I've got their kit, and I basically, yeah, that's what I'm going to try to do, make it into black kind of granite effect. Here's going to be the sink, which one of my subscribers, Matt, bought for me a few weeks ago really. We were chatting on text message. I'm not going to reveal it yet because on the text exchange he said he wants a full fanfare with fireworks and everything like that, which I haven't got. So I'm not going to show you the sink yet, but basically it's a square stainless steel sink to go there. Here's going to be the induction hobs, which have been a bit of a learning curve for me. Most of them are 600 by 600, which is basically the full width of that, which means that you can only put them on an island. This island here still isn't even big enough for that really. The depth of there is still only 600. So I'm going for a slightly smaller one. I don't need a 4-burner one anyway. They tend to be slightly higher wattage. Some of them go up to like 7.2 kilowatts, but the one I found is a 2-burner on a 13 amp plug, so it's kind of quite easy to wire in, and yeah, it's got a maximum load of 3,000 watts, so you know, it should be absolutely fine. But I might have to make a little kind of cut out there for it to sit within, because that is a depth of 40 mil, and worktop isn't going to be 40 mil, because granite or stone, you don't get that in 40 mil. That's just way too chunky. It tends to be about an inch or 20 mil, something like that. I've made up a couple of bits to kind of start to work it out how it should look on the boat. This is 18 mil, 2 bits of 9 glued together, which I think is too thin. And you know, I think it's going to have a little bit of, not flex to it because it's got enough anchor points to it, but I want something a bit rigider than that, and also something to take in the LED lights underneath it. So this one is 27 mil. This is 3 sheets of 9 glued together. I think that's much better. It feels much more kind of sturdy, and it means I'll easily be able to put the lights on the underneath, and I'll be able to put a nice kind of round over edge on it. Although you tend not to have that on granite, you tend to have a straight edge on granite, or like a slight bevel on it. You don't tend to have a round over. But so I'll work that out once I've kind of got it all cut to size. But that's my first job, is to get the 9 mil boards all cut, and then I can, once that's all done, I'll use that as a template basically. Then I'll glue the 18 mil onto it, cut around it, and then cut out the apertures, one for the sink, one for the hob. Here's my new track saw in action. It's really good. There's 2 tracks. I think they're both 1 meter long, or 1 meter and a bit. But you put them both together and you can rip down full strips from a full-size 8-foot board. So it's really good. So I'm using this loads now. And obviously you get a damn good cut all the way down it. Yeah, that's pretty decent. Those are the cuts I'm getting from the track saw. Bit of an improvement. Right, I've lopped off the edge and the corner with the jigsaw, because when I put the other 18 mil board on top, once they're glued together and I can trim it back, I can use a plane to get all that good, and then go around the corner once it's all at 27 mil thickness. But that's all right. It's a little bit wonky, this timber, so it's kind of bends up in there, so I'll have to address that. But I'll get the 18 mil board cut next, I think. Or should I? No, I think I should probably do this side next, then I can do the 18 mil. That's probably the best way. Right, the first job is to lop off a length on that side there, so I can get it to sit nice and flush against the wall, and so the factory edges are all going to be perpendicular against there. Right, that's that one done. Now I need to start trimming down all of these lines here and matching it all up so I get the same overhang as I do on that one there. Yeah, I'm quite liking the look of that now. First time I've actually seen the lines of it. I just need to trim this last bit down here, and then I can start laying out the 18 mil. I think I'm just going to do one side at a time. I don't think I've got enough clamps or weights or anything else, so I think start with this one. Okay, I've laid out this 18 mil full-size board here on a temporary frame, and I've laid out the port side galley top, so it kind of comes down there. So I'm just going to mark that out now, then cut it out, and then I'll probably glue it up in situ in the galley. I'll see about that. Right, there we go. That feels pretty decent. That feels really quite solid indeed. That edge there, I'm going to fill in with the trim, which is going to come along there, so I'm going to have to do something nifty around that, but for the moment I'm pretty happy with this. I need to obviously finish the edges properly, but I'm going to get it all glued up first, and then I can trim a tiny little bit off here. I've left about 2 mil to take off. Right, first up, let's get the glue on it. Well, now I've got the glue on it, I can start putting the boards back on. Right, that is pretty much every clamp I've got, so I'll let that go off overnight, and then tomorrow I can start to get it kind of the edges finished, and some of the gaps around here, there might be one or two little gaps like there in the ply, that will just need a bit of filler going in, and then when it's all covered in resin you won't be able to see any of that. Well, that's the theory anyway. Okay, that's good. I need to kind of clean up the edges now and then cut a hole in it. Let's offer it up first. God, it's bloody heavy. Right, there you go. So you'll see there's a few little gaps and stuff. I need to put some filler in. So I need to trim down this side a bit. I might need to take a slither off that. But yeah, this is all pretty good. Nice and flat. That's the main thing. And I think in terms of thickness, that's all right. Obviously, it's going to be quite a lot of colour being black and kind of granite effect. So I don't want it any thicker than that, that's for sure. Okay, well, let's tidy up the edges. Right, I've put some wood filler in some of the little gaps and bits in the plywood. Just going to let that go off, sand it back, and then I'm going to go about, I think I'm going to route just like an edge on there all the way around, and then I've got to cut the hole for the sink. Right, I've applied some wood filler to the edge of this one here, and I'm just going to go and get this one cut out and glued up now whilst that dries. I'm just using this bit of CLS as a physical barrier so I know where to stop cutting, because the track kind of eclipses the line. The edge of the track is the line, so sometimes it's quite tricky to see, and obviously I can't afford to go over on this one. Now the jigsaw will do the bits that the track can't. Okay, good. The main thing I was worried about is there was be a bit of sag above the washing machine because there's no supports there, so I haven't really got any room to play with. But that's good. Yeah, there's no sag there at all now. I've got the 18mm on there. Good. Right, I can now get that side glued together. Let that go off for a day as well, and then I can start treating the edges, sanding them and filling the gaps and bits and pieces like that, like I've done on this one, which I can now sand back and start to work out about the sink placement. I'm trying to work out the position for this sink. Actually, sorry Matt, I have to actually show it now. I haven't got any fireworks on board, mate, so I apologise. But this sink was kindly donated by Matthew. Right. There it is. A Spanish-made stainless steel square sink, measuring 40 by 40. And obviously it can be mounted on the top of the counter like that, so it's kind of flush like that, like it does in the picture there. Basically I can have it like that or like that. If I have it like this, I quite like the idea because then you see the pattern on the inside here, if I can make a pattern on the inside there on that kind of leading edge on the sink. But then I think that would look kind of even more striking if I were to be able to make that flush, basically route out that channel for that. And because I'm going to be putting resin on it, I'm not sure. I think I might, I really don't know what one to do. Because the actual sink, the top of it is lovely. It'd be really nice for that to be on show. It's kind of a bit shiny, and I think that would look really good on the black, as opposed to you just seeing the black coming up to there and going over. I don't like the idea of that actual model where that is sitting on top of the worktop, because I know you're going to be kind of, I don't like that idea. It's either got to be flush with the worktop, because then you can kind of kind of brush stuff straight into the sink, as opposed to it having a lip and catching and there being like a area for water to get in. Or I just make my piece and have it underneath it like that. Really not sure yet. One thing I don't have to worry about on this sink installation is the depth of the outlet, in terms of where it comes out of the boat, in terms of skin fittings, because I'm going to put a whale gulper on it so it just pumps it out. So what I do need to pay attention to though is really how much of a gap I want on that side there before the sink comes in. If I'm having it top mounted, which I think I'm going to go for, then I'm going to want a fairly decent size on that side, but on this side, and then it's going to be a bit tight then on the back. Bear in mind I've got to have it doesn't have to be 18mm, although it probably will be. I need to have the splashback, which could be something along like a little bit like that. Again, that's going to be in the same granite effect as that is, and the lines are actually, I'm going to do it together, so any kind of cracks in the granite will be going up there as well, and the colouring will hopefully be the same then. So I kind of ideally I'd like the same size gap on the front as I would on the back, and then I'll have to have the taps mounted at the side like we've got on Slow Patrol, because there won't be any room to have them at the back there. I think that's going to be the way to go. Right, time to make my first cut. I'm going to use the jigsaw because you're not going to see any of the edges, and I don't like the idea of using the circular saw with the track there. Should be alright. Alrighty. So when I've got in the backsplash, which is going to be a bit like that. That's how it will look. So it's got the same size gap at the back and at the front, and sink is bang in the middle of the window. Yeah, I think that's a pretty decent look for that side of the galley. So I have quite a lot of worktop there. Right, I've sanded all of the edges back now, so through to 240 grit, and I've then gone on with a bit more wood filler on some little bits here, but then all around the aperture of the sink, just to ensure it's all as sealed as it can be. Then I'll sand that back, and then obviously I'll epoxy the whole lot. Now I need to clear this and then glue it all up. Okay, that's it. Starboard side worktop is all glued up, again using every clamp I've got. Tomorrow I'll finish this side, all the edges of this. I've also got to kind of finish the little bit of the filling around the sink there, and then hopefully I can start to put the first coat of epoxy on that, and I'll tell you more about what I'm doing then. And then I've got to cut a hole in this steel for the induction hobs, which I haven't got yet, so I can't do that. So hopefully I'll come on to that tomorrow. So join me then. Thank you so much to anyone who's bought a raffle ticket so far, and for those that haven't, there's plenty of time. I'm not going to hammer on about it, so the link's on the last video. Right, until tomorrow, thanks for watching, take care, bye bye.